All right, welcome back to the Just Some BS podcast. Today we have Elena Maligina, and she is the CEO at BNMA Custom Software Solutions AI. 100 million plus save your companies from force fit to fit first operation. Your career in under 2 minutes. Go. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for having me here
Yeah.
today.
So I pulled all that from your LinkedIn, which I always feel people put their best foot forward. So can you give everyone an update of like your entire career, what you're doing, what you were doing, and where you're at now in 60 seconds or 120 seconds?
Yeah, of course. So currently, as you already mentioned, I'm the CEO of BNMA. We're a custom software development shop here in Southern California. However, before, as you can imagine, back 10 years ago, I started as a stay-at-home mom. And then it kind of transformed into having a small business on the side while raising my 1-year-old. And then I got pulled into the startup world. And so everything that comes with it, kind of like fun stuff, raising money, financials, seeing how other companies in the space made it. And then when that chapter was over, I transformed into marketing sales. But the tech world was always calling me. And back in 2024, just a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I got pulled back in tech world and I became the CEO of BNMA, which has been a rewarding, intimidating, empowering, humbling experience so far. And happy to dive in more during our next hour.
Yeah. I've never been a part of a startup. What's the major difference between like a startup and maybe a traditional business for people who've never seen that other side?
Yeah, it's actually pretty different. And the thing is, if it sucks all of your energy from you, literally. And then a lot of founders that I've been speaking with, once they have that experience, if it didn't end up into a successful acquisition or an IPO, usually they have to recover for another they need to take a break 5 to 10 years before they can start something new, just because it's not as, it's a rewarding experience as well, but you don't see the results until later, until after like 5 years, once you get acquired. When you have a more standard business, you have operations, you can already get your first revenue immediately. You can just, there's already a proof of concept. There's already demand for what you have to offer. That's mostly traditional business. Whenever you create a startup, you have to be very innovative, very new, and you don't know whether whatever you're creating will actually stick with people and if it's needed in the market. So that's a little bit different, that I would say. However, of course, it also depends on the founder itself. And whenever you build a startup, most of the time, people who believe in you, they believe in you and not in your idea, just because a lot of founders, they pivot sometime during the course of the journey. But yeah, it's still a rewarding journey and it teaches you a lot, definitely.
Yeah, I can't imagine the stress has got to be completely different. I mean, business in general is stressful, but startup, especially like you said, is a lot on the founder. And your ideal is your innovation, your ability to come up with things that don't cost a lot of money, that innovate around saving money, I'm sure, all the time, and proof of concept and just believing in yourself a ton.
Yeah, and a lot of rejection too. So, when we were building our startup, I was also trying to analyze what other successful founders did, founders of Pinterest, Uber, Slack, and Airbnb. That was one of the case studies at that time back in 2015, 2016. And it's interesting how, for example, from what I've read, when Airbnb founders, they were pitching their idea to investors, one of the investors stood up and told them, hey, go sell your idea to Home Depot or something. It's a crazy idea. So there was a lot of rejection founders have to face, but I feel like it also builds tenacity in a founder. So because I'm right now in a custom software development space, which is a more traditional type of business, the rejections I hear is just like, okay, let's just go to the next one. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely taught me a lot during those
Mm,
startup years. Yeah.
that's fascinating. You talk about going from force fit to fit first operations. What does that shift look like in the real world, and why do most companies wait too long to make it?
Yeah. So um, right now, we're mostly focused at BNMA. We're mostly focused on the construction sector, meaning we're working with construction companies as well as manufacturing companies serving construction. So we kind of want to dig deeper into the industry, try to understand it more. Um, and what's interesting about force fit operations to fit first operations is that what I've discovered, a lot of operational leaders and executives, they're trying to find a solution and then fit their operations around that particular solution software, which can work, but it's painful.
Yeah, it is.
It's painful for everyone. It's painful for executives, especially for employees, because I've heard from one of the leaders, and I've been speaking to many leaders for the past 6 to 7 months. And one of them told me that if we yet to introduce another software, my employees will just quit. So that's how painful it can be.
Hmm.
And that's the power of custom in a way, just because whenever you build something custom, of course, the investment is higher. But there's so many advantages of building custom because you can really understand your workflows and build with your workflows in mind. So it's still, I would say, for the construction industry, any technology update will always be somewhat painful, but at least you minimize the risk, you minimize that frustration for your employees, and then you allow them to not change their workflows, but continue to work exactly how they are working, but with technology in mind. And that's where the beauty of custom is.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think in the ERP space specifically, like you said, you kind of try to hit as many blocks as you can, fully knowing that you're not going
Yeah.
to get all the blocks covered. You're just hoping for the majority that'll make, some seamless operations for sure. When you build custom, I think the thing that would worry me the most is having someone on the construction company side or manufacturing that is knowledgeable enough to explain the aspects of the business. So, I mean, from purchasing to estimating to all the different facets you may want to make, you must have a team that is really good at understanding process, taking that information in and then turning that into actual technology.
Yeah, yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the truth. I'm not the technical founder,
Okay.
right? I don't code, which also came with its own challenges in the beginning. At the same time, just because of my startup mindset, I guess I didn't see a roadblock there. I just saw an opportunity and how I can apply my skills to the world where most of the people are not technical, right? So yes, I do have a team, a very strong team of developers who my CTO has over 30 years of experience
Mm,
building custom software solutions. He's built those solutions for Fortune 500 companies, enterprises, companies such as Sony, LPL Financial, Intuit in the past, and also US Army as
mm,
well, or US Navy. So one of those. And basically, when I came on board, I realized that actually my non-technical expertise, but understanding the business acumen, I can explain very difficult and hard to understand things with easy terms, right? So it's easy to understand, easy to comprehend, and see how it can be applied to your operations,
sure.
to business operations. So, and in the end of the day, whenever you build a business, and this is something again that I took from startup years, you need to have a person who builds the product, which is usually the CTO, who can build the really good product, and a person who can actually grow the business and sell that product, right? So you need two people on the team. Usually, when there's only one person who builds and who sells. Investors, they don't invest in those type of teams. They see it's high risk. And for business world, it's important to have a person as a visionary and a person who is building, which my CTO is. And plus, he loves coding. He's so passionate about it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be nice to him to put him on the to start monitoring the financial spreadsheets and doing all this ops. Where he shines, where he actually shines, is actually building new products and being creative at solving problems for companies. And that's where his strength is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a lot of similarities there, because I am just like you. I know nothing about building anything. It's why I'm spending half my summer in the shop, just so I can get some perspective and understanding. Was that a mental hurdle for you? Or because of the startup world, it prepped you for that to be better equipped, do you think? Or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a really great question. So it wasn't a mental hurdle immediately. It kind of like, yeah, let's do it. Where you get excited and you kind of jump on board and like, yeah. And then it literally hits you like after a month being in the industry. However, what I can say, and I love that you also in a way in a similar position where you spend a lot of time on the floor trying to understand operations, trying to understand how people work and learn from them. And you actually spotted inefficiencies, right? In one of those videos, which is kind of cool. And it's kind of amazing. And the same thing for me. It wasn't something that was a mental hurdle initially, but, we live right now in the era of AI, right? As long as you stay curious, as long as you are willing to learn, and willing to ask questions, sometimes even dumb questions, not being afraid of what people might think of you. I feel like that's those are the most important ingredients to, it's too early to say successful, but at least to be on the right path, to a transformation, like personal transformation, business transformation. So yes, it's also about surround yourself with experts. That really helps, right? People who know more than you do. And that's, again, something I learned from my startup years. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So just talk to leaders in space. I've spoken with many construction leaders, manufacturing leaders, just trying to see what they're struggling with, trying to understand from what I learned with AI, what I learned from my research, from watching videos, as well as talking to people in the space. And sometimes it can actually bring companies as a unique advantage when you're looking at things with a unique perspective, and this is something that's why most organizations, when they need to do a substantial change or they need to push forward for growth, usually they're either looking for someone to promote within the company or look for an outside person, to put into position like a CEO or VP of operations, because new people, they always bring a fresh lens to anything. It was a mental hurdle, but we're getting there.
No, that's perfect. So if you don't have the technical expertise, what superpower do you flex? Like, so obviously you got hired, so they saw something in that, something they needed. So I know, like for me, I think I'm a master manager in the sense of like process improvement and seeing inefficiencies and things like that. But part of it was family, and I had a whole thing that came with that. So what do you think your superpower is that shone through to say you're the right person for that role?
Yeah. So just to kind of clarify, whenever we say I'm not technical, I don't code. However, I do understand. I do understand technical systems and how they work. When I was in 8th grade, probably from my accent, you understand that I wasn't born here in the United States. I was born in former Soviet Union, which later became Russia. So my parents, it was difficult times for my family when the country was collapsing. And I got my first computer when I was in 8th grade.
Mm.
So it was pretty late for me just because, my parents were trying to save money so they can afford to buy me a computer. And I remember the first month when I had and do you remember those desktops, like those blocks of computer, the huge ones, So the first thing I did, I opened to see what's inside. Like literally, I was
Oh, dang.
I was interested to see what's inside. I found the motherboard, and I changed the motherboard later on to make my computer faster. So I've been always like the technical person in my family. So
Sure.
whenever everyone had problems, they would come to me. So yeah, that's the just to kind of want to clarify.
Yep.
However, my superpower is and was and still is that first of all, it's more like a marketing sales,
Hmm.
but more understanding psychology, people's psychology and what they need. So whenever I'm on a call, I'm not trying to sell you our solution. I'm trying to understand whether you even need our solution. Because in the end of the day, people are looking for solutions to their problems. And what I'm good at uncovering those problems
Mm.
within organization and really listening to people. And of course, everything that comes with building a business, financials, and in a way. But yeah, my strength mostly with marketing and sales, and this is what I love doing. And this is what was missing in our startup, and this kind of got into this. And then I also have an amazing expert, my CTO, who needed help, and I just wanted to help. So
Yeah.
helping him and helping other companies and people in organizations.
Amazing. Do you still tinker with electronics? Like, do you build your own computers or anything like that?
I don't, but I was playing games in the past, so I was such a nerd on like playing different games.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of like once I had kids, I didn't have as much time, but
Sure.
before having kids, I was such a nerd. And computers and I would love to try new technology. I love that. I love staying like right now, me as the CEO of a software development company. I have to stay on top of trends, what's happening in the AI, and
Mm.
things are changing so rapidly, right?
Yeah.
And also, I need to stay on top of things, what's happening in the construction industry, just because we're serving clients there. And then I'm also need to grow as a leader. So I'm kind of trying to grow in three different directions. So it's challenging, but it's managing, I would say.
Yeah, that's good. You've had hundreds of conversations with construction and operations leaders. What are one or two bottlenecks that everybody seems to struggle with, even if they don't realize it?
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good question. So I've spoken to construction leaders in construction manufacturing. I also met with many, went to events. Like, for example, we have one of the ASC event here in San Diego, ASC San Diego, really great people there. And what's interesting that even though a lot of problems, they sound very unique in a way, underneath, they're all the same. So whenever they need like a scheduling tool, estimation, or they need help with forecasting, at the end of the day, a lot of them, they just struggle with data silos, disconnected systems that don't talk to each other. And most of the time, leadership doesn't have that real-time visibility into the operation. So sometimes they have to make decisions blindly.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest operational bottleneck that we see so far.
Yeah, I mean, that hits a lot of things. Do you run into a lot of, even with AI implementation in some of your solutions, do you run into a lot of distrust with that in our industry? And when I say our, I mean construction.
Like you mean technology, like distrust in technology and distrust in AI?
More, yeah, more distrust with AI.
Well, here's the thing. What's interesting is that initially the leaders would come on a call just to check what's happening with AI. They just want to know, not really they need a custom solution. They just want to know, like, okay, what can I learn from them, right? And what I've realized eventually was that the industry in itself, although AI is there, the industry is not ready to fully transform, to fully adapt AI.
Mm.
Yes, for little tasks like Copilot, yes, but truly adopting AI and fully transforming the AI operations, the industry is still behind because I've spoken with Amin, who is CTO. He's been helping financial industry like FinTech, healthcare, right, for the past decade, if not more. So what we are seeing right now, whatever the construction industry is going through, that was FinTech and healthcare tech they were going through 10 years ago. So the construction tech is 10 years behind from
We're
other
always late to the
industries.
party.
Yeah. And the thing is, I also, it's true. I was watching one of the videos from Build World.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest conference in AI, and they said that the construction industry, I think agriculture industry, the agriculture industry is more tech savvy than the construction. So the construction is like all the way to the bottom. However, what I would say, that's where the biggest potential as well is, right?
Sure.
Because whenever you're at the bottom, there's only one way, and it is up, right? So it's So I feel what's important right now, it's not really that people don't really want to implement AI. They're just not ready for it yet. And I feel like the first priority that companies and organizations they need to focus on is standardizing data standardization, and it comes
100%.
before. Yeah, otherwise, even if you don't have that clean data available, and we have actually 5 steps that we follow, happy to share. But if you don't have that data available, you're going to implement AI and you cannot really have the reliable output and reliable results. So yeah, it all comes from standardized data, which is a lot, especially in construction companies that were founded like in 30. Look at the years they were founded, 1930, 40, 50. So those are really well-established companies that have a lot of history. And yes, technology comes not as easy to them just because of the people that work in the companies, especially people who work for decades.
Yeah.
It's hard to push technology on people who has been in the organization for 50 years. And that's why I guess it's important to take it step by step. And in terms of to answer your question, it's going to come, but it's a much slower progression for AI adoption.
Yeah, I've been asking, I work with a company right now, and I've been asking them for, I guess, the carpenter industry, because they have standard units that AI adoption is a lot faster for them we'll say from the drawing perspective, because drawings for the construction industry, at least we'll talk about us at SWF, like it's so pivotal at the front end and during the entire execution of the process. And so one of the questions I asked was, we'll do a submittal to a customer and then they'll mark things up, and there could be 400 drawings in this package. And then we'll get that back, and then we got to comb through 400 pages. And my question was, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but at a bar, they have these little screens that you can play this picture game where it's this picture and this picture, and there's 20 differences in there, but you have to like really look for them. And I just want that for AI to search through 400 pages and just tell me what's been changed so that we don't have to comb through it. The issue being is there's no data set that says this is what all of these letters mean, to read. And that's at least that's what I've heard so far.
Brandon, you brought a really good point, because 9 months ago, we spoke with one company that came to us looking for exact same solution that you're talking about, exactly the same. And at that time, here's the thing: to build your own model, to build your own LLM with all the millions of rows of data, it's going to cost you millions of dollars. And you've probably seen a startup raising $60 million, $100 million just to start building their own model. So at that time, nothing was really proven and available to solve the problem that you are looking into right now. However, and it's interesting, I was chatting, so I didn't get on a call, but I was communicating over LinkedIn messages with one of them, also ops leader in the construction. He said that Claude is making big waves right now in this in the imaging and basically looking at the PDFs and pictures and trying to estimate how much everything's going to cost. So we actually just start looking into that also as well. And we have a meeting scheduled with one of our customers who is also looking into that. So hopefully things are going to change pretty fast and your solution will be available very soon.
Oh, yeah, because the amount of information on these drawings that have to be combed through just to get a quote out is astronomical, and the windows keep shortening on the front end because these fast track projects and trying to get everything done, and we never have enough time, and everything's hard money in our world for the most part. And so like that's a lot of risk that people are putting on short time frames, and then the execution is always on a short time frame. It's never long enough to get all this work done, and it's like this keeps compounding. So technology is going to have to suck that stuff to the left faster to process the information faster to even have a chance to keep this train running the way it is.
No, absolutely. And again, technology is making big waves right now, and it's developing so fast. I'm sure a solution will exist because the problem is so big. And when the problem is so big, somebody will absolutely figure out how to use it. And all you have to do is use that model, whatever, it's going to be Claude probably, because they're making big waves right now in the construction industry, and just put RAG. Do you know what RAG is? So RAG is a retrieval augmented generation. So basically you can use the existing model, which is Claude, and just feed your own data, your documents, your PDFs, everything. And then you don't even need to fine tune. That's the beauty of it. You don't need to fine tune the model. And then you will have those accurate results without, when LLM makes mistakes. I forgot the word. So without those problems, you can have pretty accurate results by feeding your own data, your own images, your own pictures, and everything that you need to do.
Okay, so it's almost like you could set
hallucinations. I remember that, hallucinations.
Okay, so it's almost like setting up your own agent if you're talking in ChatGPT world through Claude to pull that. And then it'll constantly, once that model is created and it's in Claude and it's available, then you can go pull it and make it for your own application.
And you can also integrate with your solutions, with your existing systems, just to make it all automated. Because even though you can use something that's already available, like for example, you probably know how to create custom GPTs, right? So, and although, custom GPTs, and have you had like a chat and you work with it, and then it just becomes slower and slower and slower over time, right? So you kind of like, okay, I gotta start a new chat, because it's so slow. So whenever if you were to build something custom or integrate with your systems, you can do everything automatically on the back end. So you never have to run into a problem where things get slow. So
I have lots.
There are a lot of workarounds. Definitely.
Okay. Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
I was just on a manufacturing podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, and an individual on there runs a company out in Indiana, and he said he's testing because we got down this augmented, like I have so many applications for augmented reality glasses that I could walk around the shop right now and be like, that could solve that, that could solve that. And he said that he just bought a pair and he's beta testing for a company for his quality inspectors. And essentially it lays the drawings over what the person's seeing and then gives you red, green check marks or X's to say what's not in tolerance. And I was just like if that even becomes like mainstream and you could bring the cost of that way down, you could put them in safety glasses, put them on every single person's face, and your quality mistakes instantly just go away.
That's the beauty of technology. It's developing so fast, and it's scary and yet also exciting. And you just like, what's else possible? What else possible, right? At the same time, we also need to think about, of course, I wouldn't say like dangers of everything that we're creating. But there are founders I know in the AI space who are building, more safe AI
Safeguards. Yeah, I just read that.
safeguards. Yeah, so that's also important, just to and to remember and think about it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I'm in such the creative space of like problem solving, but then
yeah.
other people live in a completely different world, and it's just like how much can we tear down with this amazing
And that's
technology?
the beauty of it. So we need both worlds, right? We need
Yeah,
people who are so creative and go into the space and the sky is the limit. And we need people who put guardrails on those things just to make sure that things don't get bad. And that's similar, for example, in our BNMA, like Amin, our CTO at BNMA CTO, he is very creative. Like,
yeah,
the ideas just come to him so easily. And then he creates this very smart systems just because he come from like his background. He comes from Algeria. He is
mm,
he used to be the captain in the military, and then he was building smart systems for anti-terrorist projects. So he is very smart. And then I care about safety. I care about mm, making sure that everything is done correctly,
sure,
with rules in mind. So, and that's the thing. Like, of course, he also thinks about that as well.
sure.
But we just want to make sure that we're combining like that creative mindset, like what's possible, yet without breaking any rules. So,
Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
that's great. Spreadsheets and tribal knowledge are still king in construction. Yes, they are.
yes,
What's the
yes.
real cost of that, and why is it such a hard habit to break?
Well, again, first of all, I would say it's not their fault.
You mean it's not our fault?
It's not your fault. Yes, it's not your fault. Again, if we look at the companies, right? We always like, oh, spreadsheets and, everything is so manual. And we always look at the lens of people who were born in technology, right? After post 2000 era where the websites, everything was like so tech forward, right?
Yeah,
But these companies, again, they were founded in 1930s, 50s, 60s. A lot of the executives have been with the company for many decades, right? And we've been taught like if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? If it's working,
right.
let's keep it that way. We're growing, all is good, right? So it's not their fault. And in a way, every company, the company without employees doesn't exist, right? You always want to care. You do want to care about your employees, making
Sure.
sure that that if they've been with the company for many decades, you want to make sure that they're still there and they do a great job, right? However, we also understand that we cannot companies in the construction sector, they cannot continue doing same things that they did 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, especially with AI. Everything's so accelerated right now.
Right.
Everything changes. Every single day you wake up, there's something new,
Yeah.
right? And ignoring that is not an option anymore. Because if you do, you're gonna be eventually you'll get behind. And there's competitive advantage into this. So you want to think about your competitors as well. But yeah, I mean, whenever you rely too much on spreadsheets, there's one of the biggest things that happen is that there's no real time visibility for leadership to make the right decisions. However, what's interesting that's something that I'd like to touch on is that I've been speaking to a few um, construction leaders, and they did tell me about it's important to also not to create vanity KPIs and metrics, just to have those insightful insights, which is kind of nice, which is kind of interesting, right, to put together.
Hmm.
So it's important also to bring those people from the fields to contribute and just to see what's possible. And yeah, so in terms of spreadsheets, people are quietly moving away from them. They're trying to automate things just to create that visibility. But the delays can happen. Like, one of the biggest costs is that our missed deadlines, for example, can happen. It's usually something that's external that people realize, okay, we cannot continue doing what we've been doing in the past. And one of the companies just 6 months ago, they reached out to us. And I don't want to go into details just because of the NDA that we signed. But for example, one of the biggest mistake that happened for them was that the client was expecting the job to be finished in 4 days, but somebody put in 5 days, didn't update the how many days it's going to take
Yep.
everywhere, and then they had to scramble the team. They had to work extra and kind of put stress on the team, put stress on leadership just to finish in 4 days, even though initially it was negotiated that the job is going to take 5 days. And what happened in the end is not just that they lost tens of thousands of dollars, but also, those are things are quantifiable, right? But there's things that we cannot really quantify is the referrals that the client is not going to refer anymore. Because we operate in a very relationship, like our industry is so heavy on relationships, right? Who we trust, who can we refer to. And then not just our industry like custom, but also the construction sector industry, like who do you like you want to make sure that you build those trustworthy relationship, and as well as a reputation, in the industry. So yeah, those are the things very important to streamline, and yeah, start with spreadsheets. I guess that's one of the things that I always say. Yeah.
Yeah, so you brought up scheduling, which is an absolute passion of mine. So I used to do quite a
Oh.
bit of power plant construction, nuclear and fossil. And what I've noticed on the industrial side is we have and this is just kind of construction in general. I feel like we have a real problem with unrealistic expectations because it takes so much work to put a really good plan together. Because the
Oh.
things we're doing are very complex. There's lots of resources. There's probably lots of subcontractors all stacked in this plan for this customer, probably in the same building, all going on at the same time. And you throw in safety, quality, you throw in machinery coming in, logistics, I mean, everything. It's just you can understand how you get to the point of like saying, okay, well, we have to get it done by this. Is it possible? We think so. And then everybody just starts running. And I think that being able to take all of that, because it's just large amounts of data and
Yeah.
process, and everything's got to be tied together. And if that solution is out there where we can cut unrealistic expectations, or you can set up what if scenarios very fast, because to be able to do those is actually takes a long time. And if you could say, okay, team, we have these many issues, we have this many risks, problems, all this stuff could happen. You throw those scenarios in, it gives you different kind of parameters. And
Hmm.
then you say, okay, we're going to go with choice D and then just run with that. That would be game changing for everyone involved, because then we'd be talking about real things, real timelines, real data. This is when this is going to happen. Because right now, I think it's all very much we try to manage it up here too much, and it gets
Gotcha.
messy.
What are you currently using for scheduling?
Mostly, I mean, Primavera is kind of the creme de
Okay.
la creme in our world.
Hmm.
You could do Microsoft projects, so it's just kind of like just a lesser version of, or a Excel spreadsheet, but actually has logic and resources tied to it. But the tough thing is taking from concept of drawings to an execution plan. So taking the drawings into an estimate, which equals the man hours, and then turning those man hours, which were estimated, into an execution plan, which also had man hours, in the way that you want it done with hundreds of other people all at the same. That's the hard part. It's everybody lives in different spheres, and they
Hmm.
all give their plan and submit it. And then who's putting all those plans together is the problem that I'm seeing.
Well, that's a really good problem to solve, Yeah,
You
I
can sell
totally
that for
understand.
billions.
Yeah, it's a complex problem, definitely. In terms of, do you guys have like a one single source of truth, like one system where you guys put all key data so people can reference to?
I think the closest I've seen to that is probably Procore. That's at
Okay.
least that's the attempt I've seen of every projects are being run through Procore, which means RFIs, change orders, schedule submittals, like all the stuff is supposed to
Hmm.
daily be uploaded into that. I'm not sure if they do timesheets. I've never been on the customer side of Procore, but
Yeah.
I lived in the world where it was manual spreadsheet timesheets, right? Gets put into the system and then you use all that information. So it's
Yeah.
possible. You just have to be able to collect it all in a centralized location, even if it's like folders, right? As long as it's retrievable that you can pull stuff out of and it's an open source, then you just have to tap into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you guys are not using Procore, right? It's more for the construction. Yeah.
Yeah, no, most of our customers would have Procore, and then we would
Yeah.
be invited in for the project.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you can either, again, have you looked at any other solutions on the market? If there's anything like this that's available?
No, mostly because we're the sub of this giant
Mhm.
conglomerate. But like, if I was a CM, uh, if I was a construction management company, that is something I think going to be huge in that arena because you have to take everyone's data, organize it, and then present to the customer. This is where we are, good or not good, right? Answering that question
Yeah.
literally every hour.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely what we've seen is that for any organization, especially when you want to structure data, right, and have the data so you can build those predictable models and have
Right.
those predictable insights and forecasting, right? And the first thing that we always suggest is have that one source, single source of truth, right? One system where all key data is being input to. So all your employees have that source to reference to. And then after that, so that way you can, that this is the sort of truth. And that's when we're going to be basically building our models that's
Sure.
based on that data. Yeah.
And then as long
It
as it's all going in there, it's always updating itself based on the next.
Yeah, so there are actually 5 steps how you can standardize data, right? So the first one I already mentioned is to have that one system. You can either have your system like similar to Procore. Usually for construction companies, Procore is that
Yeah.
the system of truth. And then for other industries, if there's nothing that's available on the shelf, usually they just build something simple just to kind of like to put the data in. And then the second step, whenever you want to standardize data, is organized data, right? Is to create what's called consistent data entry standards, like having same formats, having same naming conventions, right? Having um, same regular like time frame, right, when you want
Hmm.
to put the data in, just to make sure it's there, or having the required fields, right? Sometimes they need to be there, like what data you want to collect, right? So that's like creating those standards how data needs to be inputted, and then that way you can eliminate those errors and then make sure that data becomes more reliable. Yeah, that's the second step. So after creating the single source of truth system, the third step is to create what's called data validation rules. It's basically you want to make sure that the data that's validated before the data is being entered, it's been validated, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, you want to do like automated checks so the data is being consistent and is being correct, and you don't want, maybe instead of like having free fields, you want to have drop downs just to make sure that people don't
Yep.
just create whatever,
Protecting them. Yeah.
protecting the data. Yeah, so those are validation rules. And then the fourth step is to create those data audits. This is where actually AI can do totally to make sure that there's no inaccuracies, inconsistencies, just to eliminate those. And then the last and fifth steps is just to integrate systems that you already have, CRMs, ERPs, any financial tools together. So data flows from one system to another system. So you don't have to hire a person to manually put data from one place to another place, because you want to make sure that data is structured and it's the right type of data.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that way you can always have that up to date data available for you
Hmm.
anytime you need it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know a company is ready for custom software, and how do you help them see that it's not about more tech, it's more clarity?
So I actually, yeah, that's a really good question in terms of understanding when the company is ready for custom software. So number one, if there's a solution that solves 80% of your problems, you don't need custom software. That's number one thing,
Mm.
right? If you can find something that's available out there which is SaaS and it's 80% good, you don't need custom software. You just get that solution. Now, there are certain things that, for example, if you have multiple locations, like you're a big company and you have multiple locations, the franchises, they kind of function the same. It just doesn't make any sense for each of the company pay those licenses fees, because you probably know, like some of the licenses fees are like 10K, right, per person per year. So it all adds up over the course of many years. So it totally makes sense in that case to build a custom solution, because yes, the investment initially is higher, but you don't have to pay for those licenses
Yep.
fees. Yeah, that's a really big advantage, especially when you're growing. The other things would be, so whenever you need a custom solution, if you have special workflows, for example, if you have stages, uh, like in your warehouse, right? Whenever some of the materials they need to stay on quarantine, right?
Yep.
And there's nothing else that's covered in that's whatever is available. That's a really good candidate for custom software, right? So whenever you have those unique workflows, 100% go custom. Yeah, so those are the few things that you can definitely apply to, just to see whether a custom solution. And the thing is, here's the thing: a lot of people, many organizations, they feel like, oh, whenever you build custom, it's like it's going to take years, and it's going to take so much money. But custom development also transformed a lot in the past several years with all the AI tools. Right now we're building things so fast ourselves, something
Yeah.
that's custom, right? And then, of course, it also depends on the expertise of the team. Like, for example, our CTO and his team, they're always creating frameworks. How can we speed up the development time? Because, for example, if you have a customer portal with login information, you don't really need to recreate every single time this particular module, right, for every single client. So some of the things can be repurposed, some of the things are brand new.
Hmm.
So you can really, really streamline custom development and save money, like, by going custom in a way.
Yeah, I don't think I thought about the seat perspective, but that's so good because that's like the bane of my existence is this whole like you got to pay per seat, and then so it really hurts your scalability because
Mm,
then like there's software right now where we're getting rid of because it's like as we keep growing as a company, we have to keep buying more seats, and it's actually
mm,
priced itself out of other solutions which
yeah.
are now cheaper.
Yeah, yeah. And also, one of the companies that we spoke with, the same op leader, they bought the software. They tried it for 4 or 5 months, and then they realized that no, you know what, it doesn't really fit our operations. Now, just imagine how much time has been wasted, like 4 to 5 months,
Yeah,
and
good
then
point.
basically they're back to square
Yeah.
one, right? And also frustration from employees, like, oh my gosh, we tried this, we tried to learn it, and then we have to try another one, and then
Yes.
another one. So it's more than just investment of money. I feel like time, like wasted, that would probably, like from my point of view, like wasted time, and also frustration of employees, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to trust you that you're going to choose the right software for them, and then they try. And the thing is, they will learn somewhere or another, even the software is not very easy to use, but our mind is wired in a way that we learn over a period of time. We're getting used to anything. We will
Yeah.
get used to it. So, and then once people get used to something, then you kind of like pull that rag from
Yeah.
from their feet and like, okay, we need to start over. And like, oh, we need to start over.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think changing payroll companies slash processes and changing ERPs are probably the most devastating things to businesses because it literally touches almost everyone. So like you're dealing with
Yeah.
processing a payroll and then it's probably a new app everybody's got to learn and what does that all look like, setting up new logins, all that stuff. And then the ERP, there's no one who can hide from an ERP because it's
Yeah.
touching every sector of the business.
Well, ERP in a way, it's similar to, it's the heart of sales, right?
Yeah.
Like sales, everything. And the thing is, sometimes you don't really need to rip and replace everything, especially if so many people are tied and they already got used to the system that's already in place and it's been in place for 12 years. A lot of those ERPs, they've been developed in 2005, 2010.
Yeah.
So, and considering technology, some of them, they don't really support the infrastructure um, that you develop their platforms on. And now it's AI. So the infrastructure cannot really support the AI, right? Because
It's not
they don't
open.
have that power.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have that power. However, what we have an experience where a company came to us, they had this system. And the thing is, you can start small with a custom solution that is not very expensive and then can integrate directly with the ERP, pull the necessary data, give that visibility to people who need it, and then just move slowly towards that whole
Yeah.
technology transformation. So, yeah, but I completely agree with you. Like replacing the whole ERP, it can be a painful process that can take like a pretty long time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like the tiny steps. I think that's really important for people to hear because if it's going to be scary. It's something
Yeah,
new. You're going to have to get team members involved. So just start something that's like create your like what's super annoying list, right? And then go fix the most annoying process possibly
yeah.
with a new solution and then that'll be like okay, that wasn't too painful and you can move on to the next one. That's really good.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? That's like the most annoying solution. Um, and the most annoying solution is usually different for like ops leaders. It's one annoying solution. For
Yeah.
people who is on the shop or on the floor on the job site is different.
Yeah.
So yeah, just picking that's like what's the most important for the company. Sometimes usually operation leaders, they care about how can we reduce costs, right? What's the biggest bottleneck and what makes our teams most frustrated. So I guess like finding that common ground and start with the one thing that moves the needle the most in the company, and then yeah, and then move to the second phase and third phase. And usually they always say like, how do you eat an elephant, right? Just
Yep.
one piece at a time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. If you could sit down with every construction operations leader for 10 minutes, what would you stop them from doing and what would you urge them to start doing today?
What I would stop them? That's a really good question. What I would say, like, here's the thing. I would tell them to stop treating AI like, oh my God, we have to get AI. Like, like otherwise we're going to be so behind. That FOMO, fear
Yeah.
of missing out,
Yeah.
like, and being so stressed out about it just because it's normal. That's okay. Like, everyone is exact same position as you are. Everyone has that same fear. And it's totally fine if
Mm.
you're not implementing AI just yet. Just focus on the foundation, just focus on the basic first. And then just know that in the next 2, 3 years, and the AI will become even better, that you'll be ready and you'll be able to implement AI. And it's interesting that there was just a recent study that was done, I think by McKinsey report, that 80% of businesses, they still don't see the ROI of Gen AI. 80% of organizations, they still don't see the ROI of Gen AI. So, I mean, it's like that shiny object, right? That everyone wants to get, but nobody really knows what it is and
Yeah.
nobody really knows what it does. So, and it's totally fine. So I guess, again, come back to basics. That's for sure. Once you fix the basics, you're already a step forward to where you were. And whenever you try to, of course, how usually companies compete, like one of them implements something and then like the other one, like, oh, we need to implement the same thing because they implemented this thing. And then you get on with the sales rep for SaaS and they tell you, these guys, they implemented this. You need to also implement this. So just know that everything that you do, like just it's always important to first think about what's best for the company
Yeah.
and not what's best for a competitor, because they might have different systems, they might have different workflows than what you do. Um, and yeah, just focus on the basics first.
Yeah. I feel like the construction industry as well as we're a little wrapped around the axle around what competitors do a lot too. At
Hmm.
least I see some of that in our area with manufacturing as well. It's because there's so much of it and it's like, is there going to be enough work? Is it there's I feel like there's always going to be enough work, especially with the the mass exodus of boomers leaving the trades and
Mm,
not the influx to meet that. I feel like the people problem is always going to mean there's going to be too much work for everybody to actually handle
yeah.
for probably quite a few years. But we can get really smart with it, with the work we do or share and use each other.
That's a really good thing, to be able to, and this is one of the things that I was looking into, asking operational leaders, how can we all share the knowledge in a way that we can all benefit? Because in the end of the day, information is nothing if there's no execution
Yeah,
of that particular information, right? How many times you've seen Elon Musk put in brilliant ideas on X every single day, and yet we have yet to see those solutions being implemented by others. And that's one of the things I learned from my founding years in a startup, that ideas are nothing.
mm,
Ideas are nothing. Execution is key. And that's why investors, they usually invest in a jockey, like the founder, not the idea. Just because they know that the founder can pivot when things get tough, and then the idea of what it is today can be completely different what it's going to
sure.
be. So yeah, if there was, I don't know whether you know David Guillaume. He is the founder of Meruth. Is basically one of the biggest supplements companies on Amazon, Meruth Organics. Anyways, when he was growing his company, and the company is like several $billion, it's a very big company. They were actually part of e-commerce businesses, of entrepreneurs from e-commerce businesses, and they were obliged to share one brilliant idea every single day, or they would be kicked out from that particular room. So
Wow.
50 entrepreneurs from e-com sharing brilliant ideas with each other on how to be successful on Amazon every single day. Well, maybe not every single day. Maybe I'm a little bit exaggerating, but
Yeah.
constantly. Otherwise, you'll be kicked out of the room. So now we have all these brilliant minds gathering together, sharing what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
and really becoming the best at this game. Yeah. So I feel like it's important, yeah, to be able to share your knowledge with others, especially as you said that boomers are leaving, and that important knowledge is living with them, right? How do we preserve that knowledge to pass on younger generations? So yeah, that's very important.
I think, yeah, someone I had on the podcast last week just talked about there's a company right now that's trying to solve that tribal knowledge escape
Okay.
situation, because she was saying there's a company out there there's a solution that they're trial testing, and my thought around it was just interviewing all of the really seasoned people at my company and then taking all those
Mhm.
transcripts and turning that into SOPs. That was my
You can.
workaround.
You can, and then turn it into videos, and put
Yes.
in behind so people can always refer to. Yeah, that's a very viable solution. Yeah,
Uh,
100%. That's
uh,
you have to do something, that's
yes.
definitely not letting it go for sure. So you want to preserve it 100%.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
it's there's like you said, there's so much happening right now so quickly that it feels a bit drowning, because it's like, and then you, like you said, you get a little self-conscious and you're like, well, what is everybody doing? But like we're all trying to swim together right
Yeah.
now. It's chaos.
Yeah. So we're all in the same boat. So, and when you feel like we're all the same, like in the same boat, we just have to accept it. And once you accept it, that's when you can take the first step to actually start doing something about it. And
Yeah.
little by little, there's a 1% change every day. It
Mm,
leads to such a massive change over the course of a year, right? We think we don't really need to eat a whole elephant today.
yeah.
That elephant will be eaten in a matter of like
This poor
1 or 2
elephant's
years.
gotten
Yeah.
eaten a lot today.
Yeah. It's true.
Let's
Yeah.
fast forward. It's 5 years from now. What's the dream headline about you or BNMA that you hope someone's writing? And what's the legacy you want to be building right now?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought about what's gonna happen like with BNMA like in 5 years, just because again I'm learning a lot myself every
Sure.
single day. What I definitely want is that I want BNMA to be that real um, transformational force for builders of the future. I would call like people who design, build, and supply this world.
Yeah.
And so I do have big dreams for BNMA. Um, but in terms of headline, it's hard for me to say right now. So we just have to see.
Okay. What about yourself?
Yeah. What about yourself? I feel like more my personal why would be more transforming lives of others who are thinking of going into industries that are pretty hard for them to comprehend. Like, for example, like me being in a male dominated industry in the construction sector with software development. So it's like, doesn't, uh, it's not really a very, I would say, like female driven
Sure.
position that I'm taking. So I do want to inspire other women, and even other people to take on initiatives that might seem difficult and might seem something that they can't really do. But in the end of the day, it's all about, are you willing to learn? If you're willing to learn, if you're willing to stay curious and ask questions, you'll get where you need to be.
Yeah, you started out with the curiosity, and I think that's absolutely huge, especially for the day and the age we're in. But I think the
Yeah.
other piece is you must have a huge amount of humility, especially to step into the role to, like you said, surround yourself with not everybody's really good with smarter people being around them. So I think that's absolutely huge. And kind of leaning into that, you probably have said to your team, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm not really
Yeah.
good at. They have complete clarity over that. You're comfortable in that space. I think that's also unique because that insecurity can seep in pretty quickly. And I think people struggle with that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And again, surround yourself with people who are experts and then do what you best at. And then I feel like caring about the other people, that's one of the
Yeah.
most important things, If you truly care about their success and not just about just your and your own goals, and people can feel that. People can truly feel that when whether you're genuine or not. And yeah, so I grew up like my dad was used to work on oil drill ship, so he
Hmm.
was the engineer working in the engine room. So he taught me this whole idea behind that you don't leave your job until things are done, even though it was already his time to go and to take that 12-hour break, right? He wouldn't leave until he could actually leave his shift to the next person. So he would be proud of his job. So I guess that's what I learned from him, just to have that conscious mind, being conscious about what you do and being proud of what you do. So you know that people that rely on your work, um, they can actually rely on you.
Yeah.
Like,
Taking responsibility
yeah,
for it.
taking
Yeah.
responsibility for it. Yeah.
Well, Lena, this was amazing. I want
Thank
to
you.
give you your time. If people are listening to this and they say, I need help, they're raising their hand right now. They're in the construction industry. How can people get a hold of you, get a hold of your company? How can they find help?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the next best step would be if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm there. Every single week, I post useful notes, useful insights in
Nice.
terms of how to build custom software for the industry, what I'm seeing, what's happening in the industry in terms of AI, in terms of technology adoption, what I learned from other leaders in the construction sector, in the manufacturing sector, as well as if for those who are looking to build custom. Today, I just shared the link that you can also find on my LinkedIn. It's basically the 62 pages, no fluff custom software planning guide that will teach you how to get on the path of building your custom software to make sure your budget stays like you
Nice.
don't go over budget, you don't go, there's no project scope creep and everything in between, and what you need to do before you introduce an AI into your organization. So you can find it there as well.
Awesome. And
Yeah,
that's ELENA MALYGINA. And I'll have your links down in the description. My dog's barking outside my door. He's very unhappy
love
he's
it.
not in here right now.
Oh, I
Well,
love that.
thank you so much for coming on. You had my mind racing about a couple of things around the solutions I've been thinking about. And the Claude thing blew my mind. I'm so glad they're diving deep into the drawings and hopefully the
Yeah,
picture side of our world that is so integral into making plans. So it's really exciting.
yeah, that's exciting. Well, thank you so much, Brendan. It was
Yes. Think
very insightful for me as well.
perfect. And then we will catch everybody on the next one. Thank you so much.